and welcome back to Rue's Life, and welcome to the September plot tour. The weather is absolutely glorious. Things are really progressing and I can't wait to show you around. So I'm standing here next to the squash and pumpkin bed, and I don't know if you can see behind me, I've got an absolute whopper of a crown prince. And then also nestling behind me is a jack-o'-lantern, which is just looking delightful. So I'm going to spin that camera around, we'll start outside and I'll show you where I'm up to with everything. So I'm just standing inside the shed at the moment because I wanted to show you, I don't think you've seen that I've actually extended for now the bark chip, and I haven't got much left of that to do. I know I keep saying it, but the long-term project here will be to have some kind of patio or decking area, but in the meantime this wood chip is doing a really good job. So I've only really got to do this stretch here, and then on the other side, if we go round on the opposite side of the polytunnel, there's a little bit left there to do, but yeah, this has made a really big difference. So on to plants and growing. So we'll start with the flower bed. It's still absolutely delightful. I'm thrilled to bits with how it's progressed. These Rhubarb are in full flower now. These stalks look absolutely fabulous. I've still got a multitude of Californian poppy. We've got Livingston daisy somewhere amongst all this. There's still more flowers to come. The Montbretia here, I didn't expect that to flower this season, and look at those beautiful, rich, lush flowers. Here is a lupin. I grew the lupins from seed. Again, I really didn't expect them to flower this year, and I don't know if you can just see in the background there, there's also some of the snapdragons that I grew from seed. So yeah, super excited. The sunflower there, the little mini ones, are still putting on a show. I don't know if you can see, there's a bumblebee just buzzing around there, and this has been exactly what I wanted to be and then some. So again, I know that next year it will be even better, but this year it's absolutely surpassed itself. I'm so pleased. It's looked beautiful, it still looks beautiful, and of course it's attracting those wonderful pollinators. And just while we're here on the very edge of the plot, the Wildflower meadow was a great success. It wasn't as rich in flowers as I would have liked it to be, but again, I'm hoping it will improve. So all of those seed heads, I've just let them die down. Now the plan was to actually mow this now, so finish off the bark pathway up to here and then mow this flat, just to make it look a little bit tidier, and also to give it a better chance of coming back. So we would essentially be knocking all those seed heads off, which would then drop down into the ground. But now we've got our new arrival, Victor the tortoise, and you may have seen the video where I introduced him to you. An awful lot of what is growing in here, so plantain, dandelion, and lots of other weeds, if you will, but useful weeds are growing here, and they are perfect for feeding him. Really good natural source of food for him. So I don't want to be mowing that down and losing all those useful plants that we can be feeding him with. So we're leaving that as it is for now. So let's move on to the squash bed. So after a slow-ish start, I'm going to try and show you, but I mean just the overall look, you know, they've really come on. The climbers have climbed, the bush ones have bushed, and I've got a good selection of squash and pumpkin, and still plenty coming. Now we have had a bit of a disaster with this year, in that I did leave the structure up all year from building it last year, because I thought it would be easier than taking it all down and then putting it back up again. So of course it took a bit of battering from the elements. Also, I didn't put the bamboo canes in this year crisscrossed. I used string, The string has just started to rot and fall, so I haven't got that structure. And then where we've got a really big squash hanging down, it's just put too much strain and the frame itself actually broke. So we've done an emergency repair job with a cable tie, and it's holding itself up for now, but I will have to rethink and probably rebuild next season. So I'll take this down at the end of the season. So let's have a proper look at the squash. So look at this whopper. This has been a lovely dark green colour and is now starting to turn yellow. It's a jack-o'-lantern, and I'm hoping for great things. And I've got one at this end, and there's actually one the same size at the other end. And then if I move the camera up amongst the foliage, look at this absolute whopper. That is a crown prince, and it's one of the biggest crown prince I've ever grown. Here I've got a Yukiki-kiri. It's very small, but I was delighted to discover this because I actually thought I didn't have any Yukiki-kiri this year, so I'm absolutely thrilled. And then we've got various other squash. I'm not even sure what this one is, around and about. Let me see if I can find some of the patty pan lurking. So lots coming, lots of foliage, but also lots of squash, and we're still flowering, so I'm really pleased. So here you can see this damage here where the frame started to break up, but we've saved it, and it'll hopefully hold tight until the end of the season. So I've now taken the netting off bed 1, and we've got some beetroot here. So these are the boltardi, and I've been picking and eating those, and they're absolutely delicious. Again, we've, as ever, got an absolute riot of Californian poppy and calendula. And just moving down the bed, lots more of the absolutely delicious Chioggia beetroot. Again, I keep picking and eating those. They're absolutely delicious. And they're just so pretty, aren't they? Here we've got the last remnants, which are looking very sorry for themselves now. So they have been kind of bugged and slugged, but there are just a few of the turnip snowball there. And then just beneath us here, the chives are looking spectacular. And they've continued to flower, and of course we can come out and cut and use those for cooking, and they're absolutely lovely. And then if we move along to what was the onion bed, past Mr. Owl. So I've started weeding this bed now. So I've got a good clear patch here, and I'm just working my way along, and I will continue until I've pulled all of these Californian poppy out, and also the calendula at the end. And I suspect there may be a couple of onions in there as well that got left in when I was harvesting. And this year I will be laying down a good layer of cardboard again, so that any of those Californian poppy seeds will be suppressed, because there'll still be some that come back, and as beautiful as they are, it has made it more difficult to put a second crop in to this bed, so I just want to knock them down a bit for next season. And then moving on to the brassicas. So again, we've got an end that's pretty clear, and I've got space now to be putting more in, which I will overwinter. And then the cabbages have taken a bit of a hit. So some of them are, if we cut them and then peel the outer layers off, we are getting the middle of them, but they have taken a bit of a hit, and of course it's because it was so dry for so long, and then we got a couple of weeks of rain, and of course the old slugs came out. You know, it doesn't matter how many beer traps or nematodes we use, you're inevitably going to get some, and of course they do love the brassicas. But I've still got, as I say, there's a few in there that some of it will be edible. And then I've got my purple sprouting broccoli is starting to look great. We've had some pickings from that, but if it does as well as it did last year, we'll be harvesting that all the way through the winter. The same with, you can barely see it actually, there's a lovely thistle there, but I do have, let's see if I can just get down, bear with me. There is some lovely curly kale in there. And then my Brussels sprouts are coming along beautifully, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully some lovely winter harvests of, you know, all of the brassicas really, but I'm looking forward to those sprouts. The strawberries have now pretty much come to an end. There's still a few flowers coming, but they're not really developing into big fruits now. So I'm getting the odd little pickings off them, but I think we've done with those now. I mean, you can see there is just, I don't know if you can see actually, there is another little strawberry just there. So I'm getting, you know, just a couple that I can pick and eat as I go. The raspberries, I'm really not sure we're going to get anything, because we had a few flowers and a few raspberries that came a little bit early for these, because they should be an autumn fruiter. And now we've got a lot of leafage and growth, but no flowers. So I don't think we're going to get much in the way of fruit. But I will cut them back hard at the end of the season, and maybe next year. So this was their first year, so maybe next year will be a better raspberry year. And then at this end of the polytunnel, we've got the strawberries there that I took from the runners. Those two plants are actually plantain. One is a broadleaf and one is a narrowleaf plantain, which we are growing on as food for our lovely tortoise. The rhubarb, still looking great. We've had so much from that. And I also managed, because I nearly killed it, there's some rhubarb in a tub here, and I really could do with getting it into a bed or into the ground somewhere. And the hot weather, it did take a bit of a hit, but it's come back. It's got some new growth on it. And then just the compost heaps. So let's go into the polytunnel. So I'm just standing at the sliding door end of the polytunnel, and it's like walking into the most beautiful green, lush, jungly grotto. And I'm just loving it in here at the moment. We've lifted the shade netting off now, and I'll show you why in a moment. But let's go inside and have a proper look round. So I decided this year, initially I wasn't going to grow any tomatoes, but I really do enjoy tomatoes despite Chris not liking them. So I decided to just grow some money makers just for me to pick and eat and enjoy. And they've been absolutely lush. There's still some coming. I don't know if you can see, there's one there on the plant, and some starting to ripen. And they came at just the right time with the cucumbers, which have just been phenomenal. So we've got a couple of bendy ones now. Let me just move the camera into a different angle for you. But yeah, there's another one. There's one, I don't know if you can see, hanging down at the back there. There's a bendy one here at the front. There's another one dangling down there. It's just been, I mean, the plant itself is not looking great now. There's a teeny tiny one up here. I don't think it will come to anything. But these cucumbers have been fantastic. And to have ripe cucumbers and ripe tomatoes at the same time, to be able to throw together with some homegrown red onion and get some nice organic feta cheese, bit of olive oil, oh, just heaven. The courgettes have been okay, although I've had better years. But I have seen from other YouTubers that they've had similar, so not the normal abundance of courgettes. I don't know if it was down to the weather. I put it down this year to the fact that I'd grown them in pots rather than in a bed. I wondered perhaps if they didn't like that, but we've had some and they've been nice, but we haven't had that normal, I'm fed up of courgettes by now volume. But what I am really pleased about is these melons. So there were two varieties in here, grey something, and I can't remember what they were called, and the sugar baby. Now the sugar baby are the only ones, although I'm not sure actually if this, I'd have to double check. Anyway, we've definitely got a little melon here, a little melon here. We have got, I don't know if I'm so terrified they're going to start tumbling. There's another one, I don't know if you can see at the back there, that's 3, and then just bear with me, so I've just located number 4, And actually, I did think the foliage looked slightly different from when I was in here watering, as if things had dropped. And that's because number 5, who was the biggest one, has actually fallen off. So decent size, quite weighty. I'm not sure if it's ripe yet, so I'm going to weigh, and then I might just leave it for a little bit to see if it ripens up. First year growing them, absolutely thrilled. 5 on the plant. 4 of them are definitely sugar baby. And I think this could be the other variety. And I'll pop the name on the screen now because I have forgotten what it was. But just super excited to have grown those. So moving on from the massive excitement of the fact that one of my melons has decided to leap off the plant and may in fact be ready, let's move on to the beans. So I know I've ranted and raved about these dwarf beans, but they've just been fantastic. I've had more pickings off them, and there's a few beans still left on those plants. And yeah, wow and wow, they've been wonderful, and I've loved them, and I'll definitely be growing them again. Just behind the wooden wind chime is the hanging basket with the geranium, which has been absolutely delightful, but it's starting to come to a bit of an end now. There's still a few flowers to come. And while we're up here looking at the hanging baskets, the one with the basil has done really well. The chives never did germinate. The ones over here with the salads in, they did actually quite well, and I let them go to flower and they were really pretty. There's still a few pickings of leaves in that one, but they're pretty much coming to an end. And then the thyme that I sowed in this basket just never germinated. Just beneath me here we've got the basil, which is just delicious. There's a little bit of leaf damage on a few of the plants in here, and it's entirely my own fault. So on the staging here, you may recall that I'd left 4 little curly kale plants that I should have put out into the ground and didn't, and of course they weren't protected. The doors are open either end. The cabbage whites came in, and I had lots of little caterpillars, and they worked their way around, and they've just been munching on whatever they could find. So they've eaten some holes in my basil here. They've also eaten some holes in the spinach, and they have eaten some holes in some of my chard, but entirely my fault, and nothing that I can't salvage. You know, I can just pick the good leaves off. Here on the staging, I always seem to have something, don't I, that's video after video that for months I say I will. So still on this staging we do have the lupins that I grew from seed that I need to put out into the flower bed. We also have some Canterbury bells which are going to die, and they are starting to die. They need to go out into the flower bed. The leek are actually looking really healthy, and I just need to divvy those up and decide where to put them. And then on the left there is the celeriac, which I don't think it's got a chance now. It's been stuck in that pot since forever and a day, but I will put it into a bed and see what happens. However, a recent video I showed you what I was going to sow, and I did actually sow them that day. So we've got some spinach, some chard, various beetroots, carrots, more chard, spinach, mustard frill salad, mustard southern giant salad, leek, turnip. They've all, as you can see, germinated really well. You might recall I mentioned I'd taken the shade netting off the polytunnel, and can you see how leggy these are? And they were all trying to grow because the shade netting had flopped down onto this one side here. They were trying to A, grow towards the light, and B, of course, it was just so hot. So the sunshine from one side hammering down, shade on the other, and the heat. So they've gone a little bit leggy, a little bit quick, and they were all kind of growing off to one side. So the shade netting's come off, and they're growing, they're looking really good, if a little leggy. And then down here, where they got more consistent and direct light, we've got the lamb's lettuce in this tub, and the rocket in this tub, which again germinated and it's doing well, so I'll just keep watering that. Rocket a little bit disappointing, but it'll come. So yeah, pleased with all of those. I do need to get some more compost because I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to want to pot and move these things on, and I'm not going to be able to do that. So on to the chilies. Chilies are really slow this year. I've got 4 pots of the same variety. They're all the cayenne, but we are starting, the flowers have come and they're starting to form some tiny chilies. So, you know, let's leave them alone and see what happens. I may or may not get a late, smaller harvest of chilies. We'll just have to wait and see. The long bed here, the beans, got a lot of foliage. I had mentioned in previous videos that they were flowering again, so I think we might get some more later beans. The ones at this end, we've got a few, and I have picked a few off. So there's a bean there. Now I thought that these were Bolotto, but they're looking a little bit too green for Bolotto. You know, Bolotto are usually that lovely mottled green and purple, but we'll see what they're like. But there's going to be some beans in there. There's a few more here, but not as many as I would expect, but they do look beautiful. Behind those we've got some of the lettuce, which they're doing okay. They're looking a little bit sorry for themselves. I need to really go around and pick out those dead leaves from underneath, but they're okay. The chickens love them, and I enjoyed some of the leaves, and I've given a few leaves, but not too many, to Victor the tortoise, because things that are too rich in water aren't actually that great for tortoises. So the lamb's lettuce will be perfect, but these are okay as a little treat. And then while we're here, we'll just move across. So slightly chomped on, there's a cabbage white fluttering about now, but we've got the chard and the spinach at this end, and as I say, there's plenty of good pickings in there, but yeah, they have been a little bit chomped. And then the beans at this end, we've got Madeira Maroon, which again I expected, because I've never grown them before, and I expected purple beans, but I've got you know, pods, but they're green. So anyone that grows Madeira Maroon, do you want to tell me, should these actually be purple, or will it be the beans inside that are purple, or are these just not Madeira Maroon? But on this side of the plant, dumpty-dumpty-da, we have got the, sorry, I'm getting a little bit close there, absolutely abundant Greek gigantes, and there really are loads on this one. It's quite hard to show you, but yeah, there's loads and loads of beans on here, and I'm really looking forward to a good harvest. Again, I've had a cheeky pick of a few of them, and it's the first year I've grown them, and they're just delicious. I've literally just picked them and had them off the plant. Beautiful. The parsnips here are doing great, and I have had a cheeky, I'm sure we all do it, little scrape down to feel the shoulders to see how they're developing, and I think we're going to have a lovely harvest from those. Peeking again behind and in that corner, there's some more lettuce, and it's lovely and lush. I'm really enjoying it. And then I did pop a second crop of peas in, but yeah, I've actually stopped watering them because they weren't growing, they weren't climbing, they were coming to nothing, so I've given up on those. And as mentioned in a previous video, I'm just not great at growing peas, but these dwarf beans and beans generally I seem to have a success with. So I think going forwards, I'm going to have one more go, because I've got a variety of bean I really want to have a go at, but I think I'm going to do more beans and less peas. So as you can see, I've already been harvesting, and there's still so much more to harvest, and I'm really thrilled with the progression of my plot this year, with, you know, how much success I've had, despite yet again, you know, another funny season. But you know what, that's just growing, isn't it? I think every year we talk about what a cold start we've had, or a wet start we've had, or oh, this year we've had the heat waves, but there will always be something, won't there, to come and challenge us. But for me, that's just part of the fun. So I really hope that you've enjoyed me showing you around today. I hope that you're all well. Do drop me some comments below. How are you getting on with your growing and gardening? What have you done really well with this season? What's not quite done as well as you would have hoped? Is there anything that you would do differently? Anything that you think you might try next year? Anything you might perhaps not grow again, like me with my peas? Although, as I say, I will have one more bash at them. And while we're in the shed, I have a package, so massive thank you and shout out, package all the way from Canada. Those of you that are regular YouTube gardening viewers, not just of my channel but of all the channels out there, will know that the amazing Ali, yet again Ali, your seeds, thank you so much. More seeds arrived in the post recently. I'm absolutely thrilled to get them. So yeah, I've got some lovely looking brassicas and various some chilies. Can't wait to get these. I'm going to save these for next season. But yeah, thank you, Ali. So kind. Thank you very much. I'll drop a link below. If you haven't found Ali's channel yet, go and find it. Link below. Go and support Ali and her channel, because she's absolutely fabulous and she's so supportive of everybody else. She's hysterically funny and also, a wonderful gardener. So go and check her out. So thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you all again soon.